And over on the Senate front, we have the Senate voting to create an army. I guess this is one bit where the approaching storm doesn't really work for me as a prequel into Attack of the Clones, because we open up the novelization of episode 2 and we learn that over the past few years, thousands of systems have left the Republic to join with the Separatists. And the sense I got from the Separatists in the approaching storm was that they had not yet made their big move, but this is huge. This is the Senate falling apart before our eyes. Padme is completely opposed to the creation of an army. Weirdly enough, Bail Organa is in support of it, which I thought was a little odd because the sense I always got of Alderaan from the books, and honestly from A New Hope itself, was that Alderaan was peaceful, Alderaan was pacifist, Alderaan did not support war. So to learn that Alderaan supported the creation of this army was a little strange to me. But anyway, Padme has multiple assassination attempts. She thinks it's the Separatist. And everyone's like, that doesn't make any sense, Padme, because the Separatists don't want the Republic to form an army either. Yeah, I have to agree with that. The explanation that it was Newt Gunray of the Trade Federation who was paid for her to be assassinated, that was basically his one condition to join the Separatist cause, makes sense. But I wish there was something more there. Like, it's very obvious that this was a ploy on Sidious's part to have this beloved senator die, and then even the people who'd been opposed to the Military Creation Act to say, yes, we need an army to protect ourselves. I mean, if not even Padme Amidala was safe, but of course that backfires. I don't know. I think that Palpatine / Sidious has a really long game plan in place, but perhaps how he's able to succeed at his aims, his goals, is that he's able to pivot very easily and very quickly. And I think this is one example of that, where assassinating Padme would have led to what he wanted, but it still works out in the end because Jar Jar, poor Jar Jar. Poor Jar Jar is the one to propose that the Chancellor get emergency powers, and it all works out for Sidious in the end. There's no subtlety with the Tuskens. They're just straight up evil, bad. This is one thing I appreciate about the new canon stuff, is that there's more nuance with the Tuskens, that people have looked at them and been like, hey, wait a minute. They were the original inhabitants of Tatooine, and then all these moisture farmers come and, like, steal their water and stuff. There's a short story in Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina that covers this really well, that there's just this lack of communication and disconnect between the settlers on Tatooine and the Tusken Raiders, and that if only they could communicate, they could probably work something out. In Attack of the Clones, because we only see the side of the Lars and the moisture farmers, the Tuskens are just evil. They just do things for evil reasons, you know. They're beating this woman for weeks and weeks and weeks until she dies. They kill all these moisture farmers who try to rescue her. There's no subtlety here. They're bad. And I do wish, this is a film problem, not a book problem, but I do wish that maybe Shmi's story was tackled a little differently, because it's so obvious that it exists to make Anakin so mad that he kills all the Tuskens. So we see, this is it. This is the first step towards the dark side for him. And killing them all is bad, but I do think his anger is justified here. The violence is not, but the anger is, because these are people who tortured his mother, who treated her like trash. I think that he should be allowed to express his grief, but murder is not an acceptable expression of that grief. And two, Padme's response to hearing, you know, I killed them all, and not just the men, but the women and the children too. They were like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them. A little weird. she comforts him because obviously there is a lot of pain and grief and remorse for what he's done in there, but I do wish we could have seen a little bit more of her. Whoa. That was not an acceptable response, especially for a Jedi. And with Dooku, there's a lot of truth in what he says. This is one thing that I think could have been really interesting if instead of making Dooku a Sith Lord, that he's in league with Sidious, that Dooku is doing all of this because he knows the Sith are there, but the tract he takes is wrong and plays right into Sidious's hands. When he's talking to Obi-Wan, he says, there's a Sith, his name is Darth Sidious, he is right in the heart of the Senate, he is controlling everything they do, join me. And Obi-Wan goes, no, no, and then, yeah, it turns out he's a Sith, he's got a red lightsaber, and later they have that big fight, and he escapes, and my master. But that revelation is so cool and absolutely true. And I wonder what it would have been like if Dooku was almost like the boy who cried wolf, that everything he's saying is true, no one believes him, he sets out to leave the Republic, other systems join him, this war ensues, and it's all because he saw the truth, but no one believed him, and he just didn't know how to address it in the right way. Because it feels a bit in the prequels like we have Sidious looming like a spider over everything, but then each movie has a different villain that our heroes must engage with. In The Phantom Menace, it's Maul. In Attack of the Clones, it's Dooku. And then in Episode 3, I guess it's General Grievous. And I don't know. I'm not sure I really have thought out my Dooku subplot here, but I think it's cool. I do think that Christopher Lee gives a really good performance in the film. It's just, I'm always wanting to tinker a little bit with the prequels. I wish that in The Approaching Storm, he wants to see his mother again, but we get no hint that he's had bad dreams about his mother. But in the prologue of Attack of the Clones, we see he's on his way to Ancion and he has the first nightmare about Shmi. So I think this is one example where the prologue to Attack of the Clones could have tied more closely into Episode 2 if we had had Anakin, talking about his mother because he's had these unsettling dreams. That's why he brings her up about how he wants to see her again. And then he also brings up Padme too, so it's not he sees her for the first time in 10 years and he's like, yeah, when I was a kid, I said I wanted to marry her. And you're like, what? Where did this come from? That if he had brought her up before, or even if the bodyguard job had lasted longer than like a few weeks, that when we go into Attack of the Clones, that he and Obi-Wan had been assigned to her for a little bit so that we come into it and maybe like these thoughts have been growing within his head, how pretty she is, how kind she is, how smart she is, how he just wants to spend time with her, and then it builds rather than the star-crossed lover Romeo and Juliet situation we get here. We do get more time for it to develop compared to Romeo and Juliet. I'm not even lying. In Romeo and Juliet, they meet on a Sunday night and they get married Monday afternoon. There's more time here. I believe they spend maybe like 2 weeks on Naboo, and then they're on Tatooine for a few days. They're on Coruscant for a few days before that. I think too, in hewing too closely to the film, the scenes with 3PO and R2-D2 on Geonosis are atrocious. I hate them. I don't hate 3PO and R2-D2, but in this extended slapstick scene, especially when 3PO's head is on a battle droid and 3PO's body has a battle droid head, is just stupid. Like, I know it's for kids, but oh my gosh, that is one bit of the film that I would have cut out. But it's in the film, thus it's also in the novelization.